Hello, teachers and brand new teachers. We're excited to have all of you with us. I want to go over a couple of quick things today in our virtual training. Let me introduce myself first. I'm Laura Nehring. I'm the administrative assistant here at the Fresno Institute. I work with Brother Anderson as his administrative assistant, and I work with you as basically your administrative assistant. We're here to help you in whatever way that we can to fulfill your callings and to have a good experience in seminary. As of when you will be seeing this, Wednesday, July 12th, they are doing an update to WISE. And so we should finally be able to create classes after today. And so I will be working on that and letting you know as soon as I can when those classes are ready. We'll be having an in-person training on July 23rd. I made a mistake in the email I sent out. It's not the 25th, July 23rd at 6 p.m. here at the Institute. Please bring a laptop or a tablet or something like that so that you can access your class while we are in person, and we can, all together look at it, and you can see it in real time and be able to kind of get a feel for WISE and for any of the changes that are there. Even those of you who are returning, there will be changes that we'll be able to go over and show you the differences there. As far as that is concerned, as far as your students are concerned, I wanted to go over a couple of things with the credit requirements for your students. Most of those, the way that they're receiving the credit is changing, but the credit itself is not. They still need 75% of their yearly attendance to get credit. They need to complete at least 75% of the reading requirement. Now that, as we know, is kind of shifting and changing, but they will still need to complete 75% of that and also receive a 75% or higher on the assessment score. So that has not changed, but we just wanted to emphasize the teacher's responsibility in making sure that those credit requirements are met. We would like you to make sure that you constantly and consistently are talking with your students about makeup work that needs to be done, making sure that they are recording their reading, making sure that, that they're keeping up with their attendance and things like that. So if they get to a point where their attendance is dropping below 75%, we don't want to wait until the last week of their senior year to be like, hey, you missed all this stuff way back here. We want to make sure that that's being, addressed long before then. We have had in the past, and we have had this last year, some problems where students thought that they were graduating and got there and they weren't being able to graduate with their class because they had makeup work to do or something like that was in the past that had not been addressed prior to that. So we encourage you please to hey, I know I'm preaching to the choir. A lot of you are telling your students on a regular basis, and they are choosing to wait until it's kind of too late. But the more that we can, get this addressed well before. And in fact, I wanted to share quickly, this is our seminary standards and policies for Northern California and Hawaii, which includes us. This is our region policy. And under makeup work, it says students should not wait until the year or month of seminary graduation to begin their makeup work. And like I said, I understand many of you have been talking to your students long before then, but we just wanted to reiterate that we should be talking to them long before their senior year if they have makeup work that needs to be done. So just encouraging that again, right? Then also last year, I gave everyone a QR code that connected students directly to my seminary so they could record their reading, look up any past makeup that they need to do, that kind of thing. That QR code will still work. Even though they are updating my seminary, so that the new reading requirements are reflected there, that QR code still will take them to the same website. I'd encourage you also to share that with parents, because a lot of parents are telling us that their kids couldn't get on My Seminary and they didn't know why, but they're waiting until their kids are seniors to tell us this. And if you have a student that's consistently telling you that they're having difficulty getting on My Seminary, we could be taking care of that now and not waiting until the end of their senior year to try and finally kind of get them connected and find out if they have makeup work. So I would encourage you to make sure that the parents know as well that they can get on My Seminary, log in with their church account username and password, and they can see all of whether their students are missing any work or anything like that. And getting the parents involved oftentimes kickstarts the students' involvement as well. So the last thing I wanted to mention, I did mention this in our last in-person training, but I know some of you are new since then and some of you weren't there. So I wanted to make sure everybody understands we no longer purchase physical paper manuals. And the reason for that mainly is because the church has asked us not to. One, it is a huge expense. And two, the new manuals are meant to be living documents. They're going to change constantly. Even when the New Testament manual came out, they had put in all the links for things that were in the For Strength of Youth. Well, then they changed the For Strength of Youth. And so the new For Strength of Youth, they had to go back and fix all those links and make sure that they were in the appropriate places and that linked to the appropriate things. And so the things that we did have links to change, and new conference talks come out, and quotes are better or different for different lessons. And so it will constantly be changing. And so anytime you print it out, you're printing out like already a past document. You know what I mean? So we're not going to be doing that, printing those anymore. If you want to go through and like cut and paste current lessons and print them out, that's totally fine, and you could do that. We just won't be printing them as your coordinating body anymore. Also, with class supplies, they're not going to be updating the journals for the students. So if you are interested in paper journals, we do have maybe 100 left here, but I'm not going to be purchasing any more until those are updated with the correct doctrinal mastery core document in them. So if you can, instead of journaling in a paper journal, you can have them make notes on their gospel library app, or you can provide a notebook for them if you wanted to, however you want to do it, but we just won't be purchasing those until they are updated. We also have not gotten any ETA on when they're going to be updating the doctrinal mastery little folding pamphlets. So again, I won't be purchasing those until we have those updated as well. I strongly suggest the doctrinal mastery app. It has been updated to current doctrinal mastery scriptures, and you can use that for study and memorization and games and things like that. That's available. The icon for that, if you are unfamiliar with it, is a little green. Here, I'll see if I can. I don't know if you can see that. It's kind of out of focus, but that one, it looks like a, oops, and then I click on the wrong one. It's a green box with a, yeah, it's too hard to see, with like a book in the middle of it. And it says Doctrinal Mastery. And when you click on it, it looks like this. And it's got memorization, and it lists all of them, flashcards, quizzes, that kind of thing. So that's a really great app if that helps, rather than waiting for possibly non-existent pamphlets. I don't know. But we will get you the supplies you need as much as we can, but until they are updated, we won't be purchasing old outdated things. So if you have any questions, please make sure to email me or Brother Anderson, either one of us, and we'd be happy to answer those questions for you. And we'll see you at our next in-person training on July 23rd at 6 p.m. here at the Institute. And please put on your calendars the seminary conference, which will be, I should have put it in front of me, sorry, August 12th. And that will also be here at the Institute. We'll be meeting in the morning. We'll have breakfast provided. There will be several different classes to help you in preparation for seminary. And also we will be serving lunch. And that's one of our, we really look forward to that. And if you, like I said, if you have any questions, let us know. Thank you.
All right. Welcome to our virtual in-service. We wanted to just kind of address some of the things that maybe require a little bit more delicate explanation, especially when it comes to some of the resources and the computer stuff that we have access to. So what I wanted to discuss and show and demonstrate for you today is our pacing guide for the fall 2023. I've made some modifications. So for some of you, for those of you who were teachers last year, this will look familiar, but I've made some changes just to kind of address, we have an interesting kind of an area here with teachers who are in school districts that start, you know, all at different times, and you have holidays, and it's really hard to kind of put one pacing guide together for everybody and make decisions that don't apply to all. So what I did is I modified it slightly. For those of you who are new teachers, this is all going to be kind of new. So I'm just going to demonstrate the complete use of this pacing guide for everybody. So whether you're a new teacher or not, I'm still just going to kind of walk through this. I am including this link to this document in the text message with this video. So you're going to have both the video and the pacing calendar or pacing guide. I will also email these to you, so you have them both, so you can watch them right there on your phone and look at them, or if you want to look at them on a bigger screen, sometimes that works better. So without further ado, this is our New Testament Fall 2023 pacing guide. So some major features that I just wanted to point out to you. If you'll notice, on any given week, you'll have the, as it says here, come follow me is going to be on this far left blue column. This is going to be your come follow me stuff. And there's a couple of things that's going to help you here as you prepare to teach for the week. Number one, it's going to give you the dates, right? It's going to give you the block of chapters that we're going to try to cover. And then this is the overarching come follow me theme for the week. If I were to click on the dates, it's actually going to take me directly to the come follow me for the week. Okay. So this is just for individuals and families right here. Okay. But if you look here, each one of these also has what's called a week overview. So if I were to click on that, it's going to take us to the curriculum manual, and it's going to take us to, this is just a really good place to begin your study and your preparation for the week that you're about to teach. It gives you a really great overview of the things that you're going to see. It's going to help you understand each of the lessons. So for this lesson, here's the purpose. Here's some really great things you can do to invite your students to prepare for your lesson. Here's a video. Some things that are going to help you understand. And when it says a chart showing the Lord's promises and how he fulfills them, you'll see that in the curriculum. If you're doing video conference teaching, that doesn't really apply to you, but sometimes there's some interesting information here that can be helpful. But it does it again for each of the days. It just kind of gives you a really quick snapshot of things that you'll be doing for the week. So you just kind of review it to see where you're going. as a class, and you'll notice that there's a doctoral mastery review, and then there's an assess your learning for this week. Okay. This is a really good place. If you're looking at, it's a Saturday or Sunday and you're like, I just want to see what's happening next week in seminary, you just come to the pacing guide, hit that week overview, takes you right there, and you can see it. Okay. Then you have, I know that some of you have a 4-day week and some of you have a 5-day week. Now, without creating these how I would mix them up or whatever, I just have listed here the 5 lessons for the week. Okay. Just as they're listed in the curriculum. Now, if I'm a teacher who teaches Monday through Thursday, or I know we have a couple classes that teach Tuesday through Friday, I'm going to see here are the 5 lessons. Okay. And I'm going to make sure that I give doctrinal mastery its time. This is something I need everybody to understand, is the way that we're going in seminary is that doctrinal mastery is a priority. And so make sure that in your 4-day week, you are giving doctrinal mastery its time. Okay. So if I'm looking at it, I'm going to decide, I can look at assess your learning and see if there's things that I just need to make sure that we review, but I'm going to make sure I do doctrinal mastery review here. And then I'm going to hit these. Okay. Now, if you notice, this is the first month of seminary, and these are just the regular daily lessons. So I have these red spaces, and they're actually spread out throughout the calendar. Here's one at the very beginning of the year. Here's one right here after September and before October. And there's one here just before you get into November. Now, these red rows are informational about things that you could try to fit in, maybe even replace some of the lessons that are coming. So for example, this is the beginning of a new school year. You're going to have brand new students who maybe don't have any idea what seminary is all about. And so there's a couple of things that you could include, and there are a couple of things you must include in your first couple of weeks of seminary. Okay. I would even say, if you could try to fit these in the first month of seminary and kind of spread these out a little bit. If you are a new teacher, I put in the link to the New Testament curriculum overview. This is just informational for you as a teacher and kind of helps you see a larger view of what we're trying to accomplish over the semester. Okay. I have here the lessons that are included right here. The lessons on top are options of introductory lessons that can be interjected at some point in the next month. So for example, this lesson's all about studying scriptures or learning by the Spirit, learning by faith, an introduction to doctrinal mastery. That may be a very important thing that you spend some time doing. There isn't a specific plan of salvation lesson in the New Testament manual, but if you would like to start off with a discussion about the entire plan, this is the one that was in the Old Testament manual. And actually it's not very Old Testament specific. So you could totally use it and its ideas in a plan of salvation lesson. What I am going to say, there is acquiring spiritual knowledge, part 1, part 2, and part 3. There are 3 doctrinal mastery acquiring spiritual knowledge lessons. These are not optional. I need you to find a place, as it says right here in this bottom left corner. The acquiring spiritual knowledge lessons are required. You need to find a place across across the first month of seminary where you are teaching those 3 lessons. I would probably spread them out across, 3 weeks. Do one week, 1 week, 1 week. Okay. And then just on this far left, there's just a bit of information for you, just links to help you see this is the seminary credit requirement changes. And then here are standards and policy for teachers. So you can click on these links and it will take you to the documents that we've actually talked about, right? So it just kind of gives you some information regarding, credit and grades, which there are none, makeup work. Here's the seminary scripture passages. It's just informational for you as a teacher. Okay. So that's, that's going to be something for you to work through. Some of our teachers are starting in Romans. Some get in, they start seminary right in the middle of Romans. And many of us actually begin here at the beginning of 1 Corinthians. Now, if you notice, I have these yellow boxes that are highlighted. These yellow boxes are your doctrinal mastery lessons that are the actual verses, right? So 1 Corinthians 6, 19 through 20 is a doctrinal mastery verse. If you remember, if you're a teacher from last year, there are 2 lessons that are considered doctrinal mastery, a context lesson and then a doctrine lesson. For you new teachers, that means that this 1 Corinthians 6 is a lesson unto itself that kind of gives you the context of chapter 6. And then you have a second lesson, 1 Corinthians 6, 19 through 20, that gets right into the crux of the doctrine of your body is the temple of the Holy Ghost. And it's, I love doctrinal mastery lessons. They're really great, practical. They're scenario driven. It makes us think and consider our assumptions. It's really great. If you are teaching 4 classes a week or 5, it doesn't matter. Please make sure you are not just putting those 2 lessons on one day. And what I mean by that is give 1 Corinthians 6, it's, enough time, and give 1 Corinthians 6, 19 through 20 enough time. If you combine those, what will happen is you spend a lot of time talking about context. And when it comes to practice and scenarios and practicality, we run out of time. And then, we just kind of token give them saying, hey, and apply this, what we discussed. Make sure that you're giving these enough time. Luckily, our first doctrinal mastery verse isn't until 1 Corinthians 6. So it's not like you have to make those up at any point because, that's August 21st through the 27th. And maybe some of your first weeks to do it, but, just so you're aware. The next week, there's another one, 1 Corinthians 11:11. And then in September, you actually have 2 in 1 week. Basically you're going to be in 1 Corinthians 15 the entire week, which I think is actually kind of exciting. Okay. And then if you get down here, I've got another red row here because you're right at General Conference. And so some activities that you can include are a General Conference preparation activity and lesson, and or a General Conference review activity and lesson. And so you may interject those in the following couple of weeks or month, before or after General Conference. You've got your doctrinal mastery verses as they pop up as we get to them in the block. And you'll notice again in November, we're going to have, 2 doctrinal masteries in the same week. So you'll just have to just be aware you're going to be in James 1 and 2 for most of the week. And then you have that's going to be our Easter week. This week is Thanksgiving break. So you're going to have to adjust accordingly. You may have to wait and do 1 Peter 3 and 1 Peter 4 the following week after Thanksgiving, if you have the whole week off, and then if you notice, we get into just before December. Now, if you're looking at December, I have the entire month there. Well, that's fine and all, but most of us get done with seminary the second week of December, right? In which case, here are some things that you're going to need to try to include at some point, right? You have doctrinal mastery. You must do Revelations 20 because 2012 is a doctrinal mastery. So there's 2 doctrinal mastery lessons you got to fit in there. And your role as a teacher is to give them an assessment. This is required for credit. You need to figure out when you're going to do a doctrinal mastery review, okay? Which is going to cover all doctrinal mastery verses. from 1 Corinthians 6 to Revelations 20. So I have just information here. Find a place to teach the two Revelation doctrinal mastery lessons. Find a place to administer the assessment and to review it in class. And if desired, you can try to fit in the last week of Revelation lessons somewhere. I say that because you don't have a lot of time in December, okay? Remember, it is not your job to cover. Their students are going to have opportunities with family at home, in their young men, young women's, and in Sunday school, and to be honest, the rest of their life to cover these chapters and to learn the truths that are maybe in some of these places that we just don't have time. We don't have time to cover all this. We need to focus on those most important things. According to the Church Board of Education, the General Church Board of Education, whose chairman is President Nelson, and it consists of, half of the Quorum of the 12 and all of our presidents of general organizations. Doctrinal mastery is the priority here. As we work on and as we give our students opportunities to be converted to Jesus Christ and to experiment on the Word, these doctrinal mastery lessons are specifically designed to give students opportunities to learn, to grow, to challenge their assumptions, to understand truth, and to come to know Jesus Christ better. Okay, so I cannot overemphasize the fact that you need to make sure you are giving doctrinal mastery time. And if you notice, every week, if there's not a specific doctrinal mastery verse, there's always a doctrinal mastery review. Make sure you are giving them time to review those, okay? I feel like that was a lot of information for what you've got. I'm going to send you this information. These files are yours to use. They are a resource. If you have questions or concerns, please reach out to me or Sister Nehring so that we can be helpful to you, and that this can be, as we want to avoid any frustration and anxiety as much as possible by just providing these tools at your fingerprints. You should just be able to click and just go. So I'm excited for this school year. I have really fond memories of teaching the epistles of Paul, and the Hebrew and Revelation. I just love the second half of the New Testament, and I hope that you have a really good experience with your students. So with that, please reach out with questions. Otherwise, we will see each other in our next face-to-face in service. So look for those announced dates.